So that makes sense. You have to build a case. So you started with statements from the mail carrier. You talked to the commercial mail receiving agency representatives. What else do you need to prepare a case against any suspect?
Obtaining information, right? So that involves, in a case like this, that would involve speaking with victims. That would involve subpoenaing financial institutions that are handling funds that are eventually going to Canada. That would involve search warrants on emails or cloud services. It would involve requesting assistance from international authorities and speaking with other law enforcement.
So the search warrants, the collaboration with the other agencies and stuff. What did you learn about the case from that?
This wasn't a case that would be difficult to prove that there was something criminal going on, because it was so apparent that this hair wasn't actually being tested. So that part wasn't the difficult part. What we had to do was get a better grasp of the size of the fraud and the number of victims and the amount of money. So that is typically done through subpoenas. So a subpoena allows us to get information from a private institution like a bank. So in order to see how much money he received, we subpoenaed his bank information in the U.S. and we found that he obtained over $6 million through this fraud. So in addition to the financial institutions, we subpoenaed an e-commerce site that he was selling his services through. And the information received from the e-commerce site showed us the number of victims. And the number of victims here in the US was approximately 88,000 people. So that means 88,000 people ordered one of these tests that the test wasn't actually happening. And that's just in the United States. We also saw evidence that he was running this same scam in other countries, Europe, Australia, but we focused on the 88,000 victims here in the United States and Canada.
So I understand as part of your investigation as well, you actually, the Postal Inspection Service actually tried to submit a sample. Tell me about that.
Sure. So, even though the evidence was very strong, we worked with the local police in Hyde Park to submit a hair sample from a Barbie doll, knowing that if anything came back, we'd be able to easily prove that there was no actual testing going on. So, along with the Hyde Park police, we sent a hair sample from the Barbie doll, and I believe it came back allergic to a number of things, and great evidence, of course, for a future case.
So, with all of the evidence that you were able to gather as part of your investigation, how were you able to get to a point of arrest?
As soon as we had a full picture of what was going on, and that's, I spoke to him. He wasn't able to provide me any evidence that this wasn't a fraud during that conversation, and that was a casual conversation between me and him. I'm not even sure it was recorded, but I'm not even sure he knew what was going on at that moment. After he thought about it a while, he did, because he transferred 3.7 million out of his account, likely to hide the money shortly after that conversation. So we knew it was a fraud from the CMRA, what he told us. We had an idea of the size of the fraud, and we had a list of all the victims. At that point, we worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office here in the Southern District of New York, and were able to